Orania, a small town by the Orange River in the Northern Cape. Started in 1991, it's a community built on a unique and often controversial idea to be a safe place for Afrikaner culture. Imagine a place where the past is kept alive, where the Afrikaans language is strong, a place untouched by the changes happening in South Africa. That was Orania's founder's dream. The town began with a group of Afrikaners who bought the rundown land, hoping to create a Volksstaat, a self-governing Afrikaner homeland. This idea came from worries among some Afrikaners about their place in a democratic South Africa, a country dealing with the effects of apartheid. The end of white rule brought uncertainty and fear, leading some to seek a place where their culture wouldn't be lost. Buying this private land, an old holiday resort, started a social experiment unlike any other in South Africa after apartheid. Orania, they hoped, would show Afrikaner self-reliance, a place where they could control their future and protect their way of life. They didn't know their project would cause so much debate and controversy, challenging a nation trying to become unified. At Orania's heart is a deep respect for Afrikaner culture. It's a place where the past is alive, where traditions are important, and where everyone speaks Afrikaans. Walk around and you'll hear Afrikaans music, see monuments to Afrikaner heroes, and feel a strong sense of community. Language is key to keeping this culture alive. In Orania, Afrikaans isn't just for talking, it's a symbol of unity, a link to their history. They're proud to speak their language, teach it to their kids, and use it everywhere. From schools and shops to churches and parties, Afrikaans brings them together. But Afrikaner culture in Orania isn't just language. It's also about shared history, belonging, and a way of life passed down through generations. They value their traditions, food, music, and stories. The community has cultural events, celebrates historical moments, and teaches their children to appreciate their heritage. This focus on Afrikaner culture is what Orania is all about. It's a place where people can live, work, and raise families surrounded by their traditions and people who share their values. Orania is more than a town. It's a cultural sanctuary, a place where their identity is celebrated. But Orania's dream of preserving culture has a downside, one that has caused a lot of controversy. It only allows white Afrikaners to live and work there. This rule, based on the idea of creating a community of only Afrikaners, has been criticized by many in South Africa and around the world. Critics say it goes against equality and the South African Constitution. They see it as a step back to the days of apartheid. By not allowing people of color, they say Orania keeps racial divisions alive and hurts reconciliation. But Orania's residents say they have a right to govern themselves. They say their community isn't about excluding others, but about saving their culture. They point to part of the Constitution that allows cultural groups to govern themselves. For them, Orania is about creating a space where they can live by their own values, free from what they see as threats. The debate about Orania shows how complicated identity and belonging are in South Africa after apartheid. It raises tough questions about the past, the limits of self-governance, and what true reconciliation means in a country still dealing with its history. Orania has become a small example of these bigger debates, a reminder of South Africa's challenges as it tries to build a fairer future. Orania wants to be as independent as possible. The town has done well in this, especially with farming. Good land by the Orange River has helped Orania grow a lot of food, from pecan nuts and alfalfa to sheep and cattle. Orania's residents have embraced farming, providing for themselves and others. Farming isn't just about making money, it's also about connecting with the land and continuing a tradition important to Afrikaner history. Many residents come from farming families and they're proud to work the land and provide for their families. Orania's independence goes beyond farming. The town has its own money, the Ora, linked to the South African Rand. They're also using renewable energy with solar panels and plans for a solar power plant. They see these projects as important for becoming more independent, relying less on others and building a sustainable future. This drive for independence is partly practical, to create jobs and grow the town's economy. But it's also about their beliefs, about controlling their future, building a community that can support itself and showing that their idea of an independent Afrikaner community can work. Education is very important in Orania. The town has its own schools that focus on Afrikaans, language and culture. Children grow up learning about Afrikaner history, literature and traditions. The schools teach practical skills as well as academic subjects, getting students ready for different jobs. Orania's residents believe their schools are key to keeping their culture alive and teaching their children the skills they need to succeed in Orania. They want their children to have a strong work ethic, a sense of community and a deep appreciation for their heritage. The town has big plans for education, hoping to start a university for students from all over South Africa and beyond. They imagine this university as a centre for studying Afrikaner culture and history, a place for research and discussion. However, some people criticize Orania's focus on Afrikaner culture and history. They worry that it doesn't teach a balanced view and could increase racial divisions in a country still healing from the past. Orania believes in governing itself, and this includes how it's run. The town doesn't have political parties. Instead, residents choose representatives for a town council that manages the town. This council, made up of volunteers, makes decisions about things like roads, services and the economy. Orania's residents say that not having political parties helps everyone work together. They think it lets them focus on common goals without the arguments that come with political parties. But some people don't like this system. Some see it as a kind of dictatorship where a small group has all the power. They say that not having political parties limits different viewpoints and makes it hard to hold leaders accountable. But Orania's residents say their system is open and fair. They say everyone can speak at town council meetings and decisions are made through discussion and agreement. They believe their system reflects their values and keeps the community united. Besides its government and economy, Orania has a strong sense of community built on shared culture and identity. It's a close-knit town where neighbours know each other, children play outside, and people gather for social events, church and cultural celebrations. This strong community comes from shared history, language and culture. Orania's residents value their traditions, and they pass their way of life down to their children. This shared identity creates strong connections and support among residents. Marriage within the Afrikaner community is encouraged to keep the culture strong. Families often have deep roots in Orania, with many generations living there. This strengthens social bonds and their sense of shared history. Religion is also important in Orania. Most residents are Christians, and their faith is a big part of their lives. Many people go to church, and religious values influence many things in the town, from schools to social events. To understand why Orania exists, we need to look at the history that shaped its residents' views. Afrikaners, descendants of Dutch settlers who came to South Africa in the 1600s, have a long and complex history. They were pioneers who moved inland, fought indigenous tribes, and built a life in a difficult land. This history, often seen in a positive light in Afrikaner stories, has given many a strong sense of identity, a belief in their strength, and a deep connection to the land. But this history is also connected to colonialism, taking land from indigenous people, and apartheid. The Anglo-Boer War, a brutal conflict between the British and the Boers in the late 1800s and early 1900s, had a big impact on Afrikaners. The war, which saw Afrikaner families put in camps, created a feeling of being wronged by the world. This feeling, along with the worries that came with the end of apartheid, led some Afrikaners to want a place where they could protect their culture and control their future. Orania is a result of this history, showing both the pride and the prejudice that have shaped Afrikaner identity. Orania shows how complicated South Africa is after apartheid. It's a small example of the country's contradictions, a place where wanting self-governance clashes with equality. Orania's existence starts debates about the impact of apartheid, the limits of cultural self-governance, and what true reconciliation means. On one hand, Orania's residents want to save their culture and create a place where their language and traditions can continue. They see themselves as a community working towards independence and the freedom to live by their own values. Their dedication to their town, their hard work and their efforts to build a sustainable future show their strength. On the other hand, Orania's policy of only allowing white Afrikaners is a big problem. This keeps segregation alive, which goes against the idea of a democratic South Africa. This policy, even if it has good intentions, hurts the country's efforts to heal from the past and build a fairer society. Orania challenges South Africa. It makes the country face difficult truths about its past, about racism, and about balancing individual and group rights. Orania's future, like South Africa's, depends on finding ways to overcome these divisions, to create a society where everyone belongs, and to build a future based on equality, justice, and respect.